Sup, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Flea Flicker. As always, I am your host, Timmy B, joined by one of my best friends, JoeyD, over here. JoeyD, how are you doing today?
Tim, I'm doing good. This has been a wild off season.
Yeah.
I'm just excited about everything that's going on, but also a couple great Marvel shows and movies coming out around the corner. Timmy B. New
Draft.
Fortnite. Yes, draft. New Fortnite season just dropped. They took out building. That's a game changer because I'm not good at building, so that's hype. Um, it's been a wild couple weeks in the life of Joey D. Timothy.
Hey, that is good to hear. And let me speak on behalf of the Flea Flicker and all of football fans and all of sports fans and viewers of this show about the last couple of weeks of NFL free agency in the offseason. I'll just say two words. Holy shit, Joe. Oh my goodness. We could
Yeah,
talk for 8 hours on everything that's happened, but we'll just kind of cover some of the big ones. Obviously, we have a long off season, so we'll discuss that as we got kind of go team by team and all that stuff. So plenty of time, don't worry. Before we hop in, let's all hit that thumbs up button to like this video and also hit that subscribe button to the channel. But I don't know, Joe. There's been so many trades. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Since the last time that we recorded, Tom Brady decided to unretire. Let's see, Russell Wilson. We talked about Russell Wilson. We talked about Aaron Rodgers. Deshaun
Carson.
Watson.
We talked about Carson Wentz.
Talked about Carson Wentz. I believe we talked about Mitch Trubisky going to the Steelers. Oh
Love
boy.
it.
And there's a little bit of quarterback drama in Cleveland with Baker basically wanting out, which rightfully so, because the Texans decided to trade Deshaun Watson to the Browns for a bunch of picks, and the Browns are giving him 250 million fully guaranteed. So that is interesting. Matt Ryan gets traded from the Falcons to the Colts. Falcons bring in Marcus Mariota to reunite with Arthur Smith. Let's see. There's so many other ones. Khalil Mack gets traded. I think we talked about that. Amari Cooper getting traded from the Cowboys to the Browns. Devontae Adams going from the Packers to the Raiders after Aaron Rodgers. It's amazing what happens when you pay a quarterback, Joe. And we just saw yesterday the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins because Tyreek Hill said he wanted to be the highest paid wide receiver, and the Chiefs was like, well, we paid Patrick Mahomes, so we can't do that. So it's just amazing what happens. Tyreek Hill got traded. Yannick Ngakoue got traded from the Raiders to the Colts to help out that defense. Oh my God, Joe, there's so many trades. Robert Woods going from the Rams to the Titans. And then we've had a bunch of free agent signings. But let's start with the quarterbacks, Joe. There's been a lot of shuffling here and there. Brady unretiring, Deshaun Watson. I guess where do you want to start with this?
Well, I guess let's start with Brady. Let's try to keep the timeline going, or keep the timeline intact.
Okay, let's start with Brady unretiring. Did it right as the brackets came out for March Madness. So great timing on your end, Tom, with your PR team. But yeah, I mean, we even said it beforehand. Once we discussed about Rodgers and Wilson, it's like, who else in the NFC? Like, it was kind of a no-brainer. Now Matt Ryan's out of the division. Lord knows what the Carolina Panthers are doing. And the Saints re-signed Jameis Winston, another one. So, maybe Jameis is his competition, but this could be like his days in New England where you're automatically going to go 5-1 or 6-0 in the division and win. So I think it was an easy decision. Obviously, it helped bring back some pieces as he announced it like the day before the legal tampering and re-signing everybody. In the Bucks have retained a lot of people, signed Chris Godwin as well. So I think it was a smart decision on Brady's end. I mean, we all kind of knew it when he retired. We were like, I even said, I was like, when it is week 1 and he is sitting on his couch and he tweets a picture of him on his couch saying, yes, I'm actually retired, then I'll believe it. But not shocked at all, but also a smart decision. Like I said, it's him and Rodgers in the NFC right now. So Joey, and Carson Wentz, so we cannot forget.
Of course.
But yeah, your thoughts on Brady on retiring?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that the way that it ended really made sense for, Tom Brady to go out. So, I'm not surprised in that regard, but I was surprised because I didn't expect Tom Brady, kind of do this whole Brett Favre type deal where, going back and forth a little bit. But, like you said, like, I don't see a reason why he shouldn't continue playing when he still is capable of playing at a high level. the Bucks still have a great team around him. Like you said, the NFC is wide open. I would say with Brady back, the Bucks are the heavy favorite to
Mhm.
go to the Super Bowl in the NFC right now.
Re-signing Leonard Fournette as well,
And
huge.
also there, yes, Fournette, the center, Ryan Jensen.
Mhm.
It's been a lot of people come back to the Bucks, and they added Russell Gage from the Falcons. I think they got Carlton Davis back as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, they got the band all back together. 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, they were really healthy and able to really gel together and get out of the right game Bucks team really. But now, if it's that same team back, a little more firepower. The FC and their own division is still pretty weak. It's definitely the right move for Tom Brady. And while we're talking about their division, let's not forget that all three other teams within their division were also going very hard after Deshaun Watson.
Mhm.
The Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints. It was really looking like it was going to be one of the Falcons or the Saints, and then the Browns kind of come in at the 11th hour and kind of snag them. So I mean, this division, their all of their plan A was Deshaun Watson. Now they've all had to kind of figure out what they're doing from here. You know, I don't love Marcus Mariota to the Falcons. I feel like he's a okay at best bridge quarterback. So we'll see what they do in the draft, or how they intend to kind of address the quarterback position. Same thing kind of with the Saints and Jameis, that kind of in that same boat. And interestingly enough, those are the guys who went 1-2 back in the day. I think in
Yeah.
2015, I want to say.
I had
Um,
2015.
yeah. And then the Panthers right now, they haven't done anything, so it seems like they're just kind of set on drafting a rookie quarterback, either Pickett or Willis, if I had to guess. But it's not going to be tough for the Bucks to win this division, Tim. So I think it's absolutely the right move by Brady, and it's only a
Yeah.
matter of time till Gronk is back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are right. 3 year, 44.5 million for Carlton Davis to return to Tampa Bay. And I mean, yeah, and Tom Brady basically could have won the MVP last year. He was number two. So that was another kind of like red flag of like, why are you retiring now of all times, Tom? Like obviously Ben
Right.
Roethlisberger, when he was like, I'm retiring, everybody was like, yeah, good idea, Ben. like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, and then so we'll talk about Brady more. Let me just look up the quarterbacks. Rodgers, we talked about that. Broncos, Russell Wilson. Let's just move to the next big news of Deshaun Watson, as we mentioned, deciding against the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints. Could have been interesting in Atlanta. He said Jarvis Landry might have teamed up with him in Atlanta. So those two, Cordarrelle Patterson, who they re-signed, Kyle Pitts, that could have been a fun offense to watch. But the
Right.
Browns swoop in at that 11th hour to trade for Deshaun Watson. 230 million guaranteed, a bunch of first round picks, I believe three, and then a mix of some other picks as well. And I think that Houston sent a pick, fifth or sixth round back to him. So huge news as he's still fighting the allegations, and it's still kind of up in the air. The NFL hasn't has done what the NFL normally does of like, hey, we will wait and see what happens with all the court stuff, and there's news breaking every day. So he might start week one, he might start week 9 after an 8-game suspension. We don't know. But personally, I mean, he's in the division, so I mean it's going to be a competitive division. Burrow, Mitch Trubisky, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson when he plays. But this deal was just mind blowing. Like 5 years, 230 million guaranteed. Dude hasn't played in a year, probably won't play every single game this year for the Browns. And it's just a classic Browns move. And the trade went through. What if the NFL or what if the courts were like, oh yeah, something else came up? I mean, that would just be the classic Browns.
Yeah.
But a solid player. And Baker said before that they made that deal the night before, he basically tweeted out saying, hey, I love you, Cleveland, but it looks like my time is up, basically. And he was under the impression that the Browns were about to make a move for Kirk Cousins, because at that time they ruled out they were like Deshaun Watson Browns no, So Baker
Right.
was like, okay, now Baker, kind of pulling, a Zadarius Smith, and we can talk about him a little bit later, where he was like, all right, cool, no worries. I'll go back out there, see what's out there. And every other NFL team was like, well, yeah, like Baker, but you're not good. Um, Especially coming off a torn labrum, a non-throwing shoulder. But as I was saying, the last couple weeks of the season, he put in all of his effort to throw the ball 20 yards down the field. Like, so I think he will end up. I do think, I mean, we have seen a little bit of the talent there in Cleveland as well as in college, but big news for Cleveland getting a quarterback. When Deshaun Watson will play, I have no idea. But I mean, you're seeing Joe Burrow, the season that he had and the Bengals had, Lamar Jackson, obviously a problem. And who knows with the Steelers? I mean, Mitch Trubisky, a former #2 overall pick in the right offense, maybe they drafted Malik Willis as well. So this was a move that the Browns had to make to continue competing, because the rest of the roster is pretty set. Myles Garrett, they
Right.
traded for Amari Cooper. So we'll see with the Browns. But at the end of the day, Joe, Browns are still going to Browns. What are your thoughts on this Deshaun Watson ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the whole situation at
Mhm.
all. Still seems very sleazy to me. Uh, I understand he wasn't charged officially, but it's still something definitely wasn't right there, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been comfortable with bringing him in to Philadelphia, who did try
Mhm.
to get him, but he didn't want to play here. Um, so I'm glad that I don't he's not on my team and I don't have to root
Yeah.
for him. That would be tough. But just from a pure football standpoint, it's interesting that he chose the Browns when I guess they are probably the best roster that he could have gone to compared to the other couple of teams
Mhm.
that he was rumored to be choosing between, and the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. Um, but they are in the AFC, which, as we've talked about and are going to continue to talk about, has gotten extremely loaded this offseason. And beyond the AFC, they're in, like you said, the AFC North, which is a very tough division with a lot of really good quarterbacks as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it really works out for the Browns and for Deshaun Watson if they're able to have that success translate into the postseason, and actually make a run. I'm not really sure. Um, I think it's definitely an upgrade. It's definitely a good fit overall. Going from a team like the Texans to a team like the Browns, and upgrading from Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson. But I just don't know if between Watson and the rest of that roster is it enough to compete with the best of the best in the AFC. I don't know. I don't really think so, truly. Um,
Yeah, and
but
there's basically 12 teams. There's, I would say, the Bills and the Dolphins, the Colts and Colts and the Titans, excuse me, not the Texans. And then the AFC North and AFC West. So you got 12 teams going for 7 spots. You can't rule out Belichick either. So 13 teams going for 7 spots. Like, and we just talked about the NFC and Brady, and it's like the NBA as well. Like, generally the East sends a couple of teams that are under 500 to the playoffs, and we keep seeing free agents go out west. And it's like, bro, go to a team in the East and be like the 3 or 4 seed. Like, what are we doing here?
exactly. So it's an interesting move for Deshaun Watson to go that route. I know the contract. I think that all being fully guaranteed is what sold him on Cleveland. I
Oh,
want to
sure.
say the other couple teams were trying to do like the first 3 years guaranteed, and Cleveland was like, "We'll do the first 5." So I mean, money talks, but you know, I don't know. It's just a weird, sleazy situation to me, Tim. I just don't feel great about it overall.
No, I agree with you on that one. So more details to come. And then the next quarterback, Colts are running it again, Joe. Couple of years ago, Philip Rivers. Last year, Carson Wentz. Now this year, it's Matt Ryan. So honestly, it's a good gauge. I mean, wild card almost won at Buffalo with Philip Rivers. Did not make the playoff with Carson Wentz, but now you're adding Matt Ryan, a former MVP. Although, unlike the other 2008 quarterback, he did not win his Super Bowl. But we will talk about that another day. But interesting move.
Uh,
Especially because the numbers were relatively similar, right? I think Carson Wentz would have been a $28 million cap hit, and Matt Ryan's like 23 or 24. So did you say it like, did you upgrade? I think yes. And I think a guy like Jonathan Taylor certainly will help Matt Ryan, Michael Pittman, and some of these young wide receivers will certainly help. Jack Doyle retired as well. So they did bring back Mo Alley Cox, or they tagged him. So definitely I could see the Colts
Big
getting
Mo.
another weapon or two for Matt Ryan. But Joe, your thoughts on this, Matt Ryan, as you have been paying close attention to the Colts quarterback situation for quite some time.
For 1 year, Tim. Let's calm down. I think it's a really good move for the Colts, in the vein that it was the best possible move they could have realistically made.
Yes.
They don't have the draft picks to be in, theoretically in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, although
Or
they tried.
even a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Same thing. Yeah. Well, they might have been able to get Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's interesting. Nobody's acquired him yet. I've been hearing that the shoulder injury is a concern for teams with Jimmy Garoppolo. Just touching on him, since he's still rehabbing and he's going to miss a lot of the offseason. So if he
Same for
goes
Baker.
to a new team, if they go to a new team, they're not able to, kind of get that on-field chemistry and, get on the field and learn the playbook and system as much as they would be. So I kind of get that, but I think it's a good move for the Colts. Matt Ryan is kind of similar to the Phillip Rivers signing a couple years ago, but he's a veteran quarterback. He's a great leader. He's not gonna try to play hero ball, try to do too much. He's smart, knows where to go with the football, and doesn't turn the ball over a ton. And he's still got some zip in his arm. He's not like Phillip Rivers his last year in Indy, or Ben Roethlisberger last year. He's still got some arm talent, and let's not forget last year who he was throwing to. I mean, Calvin Ridley was out after 5 games. No Julio Jones. Russell Gage was their number 1 wide receiver.
And then he got injured for a little bit. Yeah, a weak offensive line too. And then I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson was their best guy out of the backfield. Now you got the defending rushing champion Jonathan Taylor. Great situation for Matt Ryan, I think.
Yeah. So I think it's a win-win for both Matt Ryan, for the Falcons, and for the Colts. I like it for the Colts. I think it was the best move that they could have realistically made, because this is a team that's in win now mode. I mean, it's a roster that is built to compete and is ready. They just need some weapons. I would love to see them go get Julio, who's a free agent right now, and pair him with Matt Ryan again. That would be awesome to see. Ultimately, though, kind of like the same thing with Deshaun Watson. Is it enough to get over the top in the AFC? I don't think so. I think that at best, they win their division and, maybe win one playoff game. I just don't see this Colts team being better than, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos, a lot of the teams in the AFC North. It's tough. Like, are they they're good, but I just don't think they're good enough to, get to the Super Bowl with this team and this roster. So they're kind of in no man's land, but I understand, they can't just twiddle their thumbs or bring in a bridge quarterback when it's a team ready to compete right now. So they had to make a move like this. I think it's the best move that they realistically could have made.
Yeah. And as of right now, I would pick them to be 4th, or them or the Titans being the 4 seed. So that 5 seed, you're going to be getting Ravens, Bengals, Chargers, Chiefs. Like, you're gonna get a good. Yes, you'll be home, but you're inside a dome, and now you're gonna say, all right, we got a home playoff game against Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. You're like, I don't know about that one.
Right, exactly.
Other quarterback news is kind of clicking around. I think those were definitely the main ones. Matt Barkley backing up Josh Allen, Jameis Winston re-signing, Marcus Mariota we talked about, Jacoby Brissett going to Cleveland on a 1-year deal, so that's not a bad option. Should Deshaun miss some games?
Where do you think Baker's going to end up? Because he's got to go somewhere.
He has to go somewhere. I mean, honestly, teams are probably just going to wait for him to be released now. Because
I had seen that teams were asking the Browns to attach a draft pick to Baker Mayfield in order for someone else to acquire him, kind of like the Brock Osweiler trade a couple years ago, because Baker still has a number 1 overall QB contract. which, yes, it's a rookie deal, but for a quarterback that hasn't been that great, and the team's not really sold on, I think he's right now viewed as best as a bridge quarterback. You know, you're not really giving up a whole lot of capital for Baker Mayfield, especially with a contract like that.
Yeah, I think in his heart, he's probably like, because he was like, I don't want to go to Carolina. And I'm like, you smart.
He wanted Indy.
Yeah, he wanted Indy. I mean, Carolina does have a couple of weapons that they signed DJ Moore, but Christian McCaffrey is on the trade block apparently. I think in his heart he wants to go somewhere with weapons, and I think after Indy, he's probably looking at Seattle, being like, you know what, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett ain't so bad,
Yeah.
but are they gonna?
I think that's the only possible
Yeah,
option, truly. I
yeah,
mean, maybe the Texans, but they kind of like Davis Mills, and I don't know. I feel like Seattle's the only realistic option, which would be hilarious if Drew Lock and Baker Mayfield as the QBs.
yeah. Or it would be even more electric, Baker Mayfield and like Daniel Jones in Indy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Or just pair up some Oklahoma quarterbacks and Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts.
No, I have seen some fans want that, and I'm just like, why?
Right.
Like, is he that much of an like? I think it's debatable, if he's an upgrade over Jalen Hurts, and if he is, I don't think it's by much. I'd
Yeah.
still take Jalen's intangibles and his running ability over Baker Mayfield's attitude and his suspect arm. I mean, he doesn't have an above average arm. He doesn't have above average processing speed. There's the same issues with Jalen Hurts, but he can run, and he's a great guy, high character, and it's cheaper, second round pick. So yeah, I would hate.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good fit at all. Now moving on, the only other really big quarterback news I would say would be Matt Stafford getting a deal, but after the Rams acquired so much to get him, and then he won the Super Bowl, definitely happy that Matt Stafford got paid, and then a bunch of smaller backup deals, and then the Jets re-signed their starting quarterback Joe Flacco to a very friendly deal as well. But now let's move on to wide receivers. I feel like that should be the next one before we hop into a couple of big free agent signings. Yeah. As we mentioned, Davante Adams going from the Packers to the Raiders, Amari Cooper going from the Cowboys to the Browns, Tyreek Hill just getting traded yesterday from the Chiefs to the Dolphins. Those are kind of the big trades for wide receivers. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, that's what happens when you pay a quarterback, Joe. I mean, great. Aaron Rodgers is returning. You gave him a bunch of money. You can't afford Davante Adams, and he said, I don't want to play for the franchise tag. Okay, well, we're going to trade you. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. I want to be the highest paid wide receiver. Well, we can't. We made Patrick Mahomes the highest paid quarterback at the time, Travis Kelce the highest paid tight end at the time, some of the guys on defense as well. We can't afford you, and we don't need you. I mean, we're Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They just signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling today. Obviously, not Tyreek Hill, but I mean that's just what happens. Amari Cooper was probably going to be a cap casualty in a release, so good for the Browns to kind of sneak in and get at least Amari Cooper. Cowboys get some little bit of that. But yeah, Joe, I mean, it's what happens. But now I'm kind of really excited for Tyreek Hill in Miami, because we mentioned when we talked about the coaching hire, Jalen Waddle was also really fast, and Mike McDonald, whatever.
McDaniel, yeah.
We just saw what happened with a wide receiver like Deebo Samuel this past year. Now you have Jalen Waddle, who is fast, and Tyreek Hill, who is just as fast. This is going to be a fun offense, and we'll just loop in a big signing as well. They got Armstead from the Saints, a solid tackle right. for that line for Tua. So the Dolphins seem to be all in on Tua. They did sign Teddy Bridgewater, so when Tua does inevitably get hurt, they have a solid guy for a couple of games, Teddy Bridgewater. But man, this is crazy. And then Davante Adams in the AFC West. Now, obviously, with Tyreek Hill out, it's a little bit different. But those are the two big ones, Joe. So which one were you most excited about? Which one is your favorite? I would say right now it's Tyreek Hill to Miami out of those three that I just mentioned.
So I'll kind of put it this way: like with each team, I'll tell you who I like it for and who I hate it for. So I'll start with the Packers or with Davante Adams. I hate this for the Packers. I love it for the Raiders. the Packers are a team that's been close to making it to the Super Bowl recently. Aaron Rodgers been playing at MVP level. Devontae Adams has been the best receiver in the NFL. What are you doing? I mean, the NFC is wide open. It's just Rodgers and Brady, really, in terms of elite quarterbacks in my mind in the NFC.
And it's
Um,
interesting, Joe, that who knows, because maybe Tom Brady knew that about Aaron Rodgers, and I mean he did know the news, and I don't know when he made his decision to unretire, but after seeing that deal, Tom Brady was probably like, yeah, they ain't going to keep Devontae.
and apparently Rodgers knew that, this was a possibility that
Mhm.
Devontae Adams would leave. I mean, they haven't brought anyone in. I mean, it's Alan Lazard there. Like it's Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb and Amari Rogers. Like what are you doing, Green Bay?
Yeah.
This is your window. Like Rogers he's older. This roster's getting older. You guys have been close, but not good enough to get over the hump. And now you're trading away one of your best players. I can't stand this for the Packers when they should be a team that's in win now mode, doing everything they can to add talent. I mean, that offense struggled against the Niners. I mean, they didn't do anything because Rodgers was trying to force it to Devontae Adams the entire game. I don't know. Maybe if you have another receiver opposite Devontae Adams, that receiver would be open because teams
Mhm.
are paying so much attention to Devontae Adams. So let's add someone instead of getting rid of him. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, outside of just the contract stuff, but they should have found a way to make it work and be able to keep both of them. I mean, like, yeah, Rogers, congrats, you got your money, dude.
Mhm.
Now, sure, you're not really gonna do anything in my mind. I mean, who knows? But I just don't see this working out for the Packers. But with the Raiders, I like it. In fact, I love it for the Raiders. Reunite Derek Carr
Mhm.
and Devontae Adams from Fresno State. Tim,
Mhm.
yes, I mistakenly said Boise State, and Tim and his Boise Broncos, I believe. Let me have it for that one. So, my bad, Tim. I take it back. I mean, this AFC West is loaded, and Raiders have to keep up. And this is a great way to do it. Reunite two college teammates who already have great chemistry. One of the best wide receivers in the NFL, if not the best. This is what you have to do if you're the Raiders to keep up with the rest of this division. So I love it for the Raiders. Hate it for the Packers. Um,
Yeah, and
I'll
with
be
the Raiders,
yeah,
just real quick, now they can put Hunter Renfro as a true slot guy. Now they can
right.
make Darren Waller a true tight end instead of trying to put both of them outside and being like, "Well, you're our best option, so just go do your thing." Now you can actually build a great offense. And forget Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator. He was offensive coordinator for that 2007 season with Tom Brady and Randy Moss, so he knows what it's like to get an elite wide receiver like Devontae
Right.
Adams on your team.
Yeah. So it's exactly what the Raiders had to do to kind of keep up in this division and with the arms race that's going on in the AFC. So I love it there. Um, with the Cowboys and Amari Cooper, hate it for the Cowboys. Cracks me up. So I love it personally because it's the Cowboys. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a team that has just botched contracts left and right. They just constantly try to wait till the last second to pay their players, like Dak Prescott, like Ezekiel Elliott, like Demarcus Lawrence, and now they have to overpay rather than getting out ahead of these contracts and being able to kind of project the market well. And because they're not good at that, now they have to let a guy like Amari Cooper go so you can re-sign Michael Gallup and
Mhm.
your punter. They lost Randy Gregory as well because of some contract issues
Yeah.
there. So absolute hilarious. I love it. For the Browns, I mean, it's a very low risk, high upside move. I mean, it's Amari Cooper. He's been very productive since he's been in the NFL. Cost a 6th round draft pick. You just traded away OBJ. You released Jarvis Landry. You needed someone at receiver there. Now you have someone, and you have Deshaun Watson to throw to him.
Mhm.
It's a good move for the Browns and makes a lot of sense. So love it for the Browns, hate it for the Cowboys. Now, this one with Tyreek Hill, Tim, I'm gonna disagree with you. I love
Oh.
this for the Chiefs. And I don't love it for the Dolphins. I don't hate well, I don't love it for the Chiefs, but I understand. I don't love it for the Dolphins. I understand. Um,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know,
I like it for the
like
Chiefs. They got some great draft picks, so it was a
they
great
got,
deal on their end. I'm
and I
excited
think,
to see this offense.
yeah, I mean, with the Chiefs, it's like, you have Patrick Mahomes, you
Mhm.
have Andy Reid, you have Travis Kelsey. They're going to be able to manufacture production out of the wide receiver position, really, regardless of who's back there. I mean, let's not forget that when Andy Reid was coaching in Philadelphia, they got to the playoffs consistently, made it to a Super Bowl with,
Mhm.
Todd Pinkston, James Thrash, no name wide receivers, and it was Donovan McNabb. He's a great quarterback, but he's not Patrick Mahomes.
And how many
Um,
times have we in big games or playoff games have we heard the names like Nicole Hardman and Brian Pringle like making
exactly.
plays and scoring touchdowns?
Yeah. And like you said, they're already paying, some big contracts to Mahomes, to Travis Kelsey. They spent money on their offensive line this past offseason, and Orlando Brown is going to be eligible for an extension. They're going to need to
Mhm.
pay him as well. So for the Chiefs, you know, yes, this hurts them in the short term. No Tyreek Hill for this season and beyond, but long term, that Patrick Mahomes, he's going to turn 27 in
Yeah.
September. He's still got a lot of years left. Andy Reid's still got time left. I mean, this is still a team that, especially with all these draft picks, is still positioned for success moving forward. I mean, Jameson Williams, and coming out of this draft, has been comp to Tyreek Hill and has been said he could be the next Tyreek Hill. He could be available for them with one of these picks because of the injury. I mean, he's probably going to slide. So could have your Tyreek Hill replacement right there on a rookie contract for the Chiefs. So I think it's smart by the Chiefs to think about the future. I mean, they might
Mhm.
not win it all this year. They might not win it all next year. But if you pay Tyreek Hill all this money, now you're hamstrung. You can't do anything moving forward. What happens when Travis Kelsey gets older? What happens when Orlando Brown needs to get paid? Chris Jones gets older. Like there's a lot of big contracts there. So I think it's smart by the Chiefs to not overpay for a receiver who, also has had some off the field issues in the past as well. So a little bit of risk there. And now they're kind of mitigating that. So I understand why the Chiefs did what they did. Moving on to the Dolphins, I understand why they did what they did. They're
Mhm.
stacking talent around Tua. I mean, they signed Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert at running back. They
Which
brought
I
in
love given the
Teron
coach.
Armstead. Yes. They brought in Teron Armstead, left tackle from the Saints, who's an all pro. And now, like you said, they got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. This
Mhm.
is a lot of talent on this offense. The question, though, is still, is Tua the guy to
Mhm.
lead that offense and to maximize it and capitalize? I don't know if he is, Tim. I mean, we still haven't seen, Tua really definitively say he's the guy and really justify being the number 5 overall pick in the draft. So, that's my concern with the Dolphins. I mean, they've done a lot to put talent around him, but now they've also given up a bunch of draft picks to go ahead and do that and spent a lot of money to do that. What happens if it does not work out with Tua? I mean, what if you're just a middle of the pack team because Tua's not good enough? How are you now going to upgrade at quarterback when you're missing a lot of draft picks and you're kind of hamstrung with your cap space? So that's my concern for the Dolphins. I think that they're being very smart in terms of adding speed, putting. I mean, Tua, he's got to sink or swim this year. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no excuses after this season, especially with an offensive guru like Mike McDaniel. So if there's someone who can get the best out of him, I think it is Mike McDaniel. Bless you, bro.
Bless you, bro.
Um, Thank you, Tim. Tim says bless you. Um, but I worry that if he's not the guy, now they're kind of in QB purgatory because they don't have a realistic way of upgrading there.
Yeah, and I mean, like we had mentioned, it's going to be very very tough to get into the playoffs in the AFC. It's not like this past year where the Steelers kind of snuck into that 7 seed. I mean, you're going to have to compete. So it's like,
Yeah,
if you're only going 500, 8, 9 wins, like to the ownership and to the front office, you're going to be like, well, that's not good enough. And it's just like, what do you want us to do? There's 13 teams. So it is
Exactly.
going to be interesting. I do agree this is sink or swim for Tua, but can't obviously blame the Dolphins for giving him the weapons. And like I said, they did bring in Teddy Bridgewater, who could not start the entire season, but a game or two if Tua does get injured, which will probably happen. Yeah, you know what? Sure. So I think it's and we'll see with the draft picks again. It's a crapshoot, but it's interesting. 7 teams have 15 of the first round picks. 7 teams have half of the picks in the first round. I think there's like 8 teams that don't have a first round selection. This is going to be a crazy draft because I mean, who's to say the Eagles are going to stay at 15 and 16 and maybe not make a move? Who's to say the Chiefs because they have 19 and 20? So there's a couple of back-to-back picks happening here in the draft.
We have
So
19.
I'm
We
sorry.
got 15, 16, and
The
19.
Chiefs have 29 and 30. Excuse me. They have 29 and 30. So it's like
I was
there's a
gonna
couple of
say,
back-to-back picks. I mean, even a team like the Jets who have 4 and 10, like maybe they just say, fuck it. Let's go get the number one guy, or whatever. I mean, I doubt that'll happen, but it's crazy. Some other wide receivers just clicking around. Your Philadelphia Eagles bringing back Greg Ward 1 year for $1 million, a good deal. DJ Chark going to Detroit. Don't hate that, good for him, solid option there for the Lions, I guess. Let's see. Preston Williams going back to Miami. He's probably happy. We mentioned Russell Gage. Matthew Slater is not a wide receiver, but he's listed as one. Apparently, Cedric Wilson,
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson as well. Cedric Wilson staying with Miami. Christian Kirk, we talked about that. Deontay Harris, Zay Jones as well in Buffalo. Braxton Berrios returning to the Jets. I think a great re-signing by them. Definitely an all-pro returner and decent guy on the offense. Alan Hurns, released by Miami. Okay, got it. Good. That makes sense. I think that's it in terms of wide receivers. Defense and just other random signings.
You're just not going to mention that the Eagles signed Zack Pascal like I predicted that they would to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have missed that when I just searched for a wide receiver. Maybe it hasn't been I don't know. Yeah, Zack Pascal, you predicted it. And that's just a great guy for Nick Sirianni's offense. So good signing and good call for you on Joe. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball, won't spend too much time here. But my Ravens signed Marcus Williams as our free safety, regarded as the best safety available in the draft. Huge. Oh my God, this secondary is going to be fun. We got the smarts of Chuck Clark back there, strong safety. We're going to let Marcus Williams do his thing. It's going to be interesting, though.
Y'all outbid the Eagles for him. They were trying to get him too.
Well, take that.
I know. I'm so mad.
And we pick right before the Eagles. We might double dip and take somebody that you want. But yeah, great signing. Will be interesting to see how we do align them because Marcus Williams is a ball hawking, just run around like an Ed Reed type, run around, just do your own thing. And then Marcus Peters, he's a very aggressive defensive back and a ball hawking cornerback. So it'll be interesting to see how we kind of align those two throughout our defensive schemes. But more on that later. We're going to bring back Zadarius Smith for a very good deal, very good price. But then the next day, Von Miller got 6 years with the Buffalo Bills, huge signing. Randy Gregory going to the Broncos, Chandler Jones going to the Raiders. And so Zadarius Smith was like, yeah, let me go try and let me go get one of those deals. Didn't work out. He did end up signing with the Vikings one less year. Very similar total money. I believe we offered him more guaranteed. His deal in Minnesota, though, is more higher average per year, obviously the difference of 1 year. So good for him on that one. The Ravens did bring back an old guy, Michael Pierce, on that defensive line, which I like. Very cheap deal. So yeah, that's kind of what the Ravens have been doing here on the defensive side. Bobby Wagner's still out there, Joe. I know both of us are very interested in Bobby Wagner. As I mentioned, Von Miller.
I think he's. I
heard he was
Wagner's
visiting the Rams.
To go to the Rams. Yeah. I think that there's mutual interest there. So the rich just get richer.
Right. Malcolm Butler going back to New England. Rashawn Melvin staying in Carolina. I'm just kind of going down this list.
J.C. Jackson to the Chargers.
JC Jackson. Oh my God, dude. The Chargers,
Big
man.
one.
Yeah, big one. They also,
Chargers are loading up.
speaking of wide receivers, they re-signed Mike Williams to a good deal. I think we talked about that
Yep.
the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the Khalil Mack trade had happened right before we got on. And then the JC Jackson signing happened, I think, on day 1 or 2 of free agency. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers are doing what they can as well to keep pace in that division. And, just that offense is very dynamic already. I'm not really worried about the offense. It's only going to continue to get better as Herbert continues to get better, Rashawn
Mhm.
Slater gets better, and they continue to add some pieces there. That defense needed, you know, they needed some presence. Khalil. They also brought in a couple former Rams like Sebastian Joseph Day,
Mhm.
who Brandon Staley really likes. So beefed up that defensive front and then added another playmaker in J.C. Jackson. So I mean, they've got Asante Samuel Jr.
Mhm.
Um, I know, is Casey Hayward still there,
He's
or
always
who's
been injured.
there was a corner that went there from from the Broncos maybe like the year before. I'm forgetting who it is. He was there last year, I think, for his first year. Um, but they still got Derwin James. I mean, it's a star-studded secondary and defense for sure. I think the Chargers are going to be really good, and I'm kind of leaning towards picking them to win the division right now, Tim. I feel like it's a toss-up between them and the Chiefs, maybe, and I mean, and the Broncos. But
And the
I feel like
Raiders.
yeah, I feel like all four teams in the West are going to the playoffs, Tim. I truly do.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. And then going back out east, the
But I
Bill,
don't think any of them are going to be the number 1 seed because they're all
they're
going to
just
like
gonna beat up on
split
each other.
against each
Yeah.
other. Yeah, they're going to go 1-1 against like everyone in the division, and like the Bills are going to get the number 1 seed simply because their division's trash outside of Miami.
And if it does help that the AFC West plays the AFC South, so they got the Jags and the Texans on the schedule.
Oh,
The
I
AFC
mean,
North plays the AFC East this year.
we played the NFC East played the AFC West last year, Tim.
Yeah,
I'm
so
so
so did we.
thankful.
So did the
Yes, yes, we
AFC.
dodged it.
We dodged it for another couple of years. But then heading back east, Bills obviously getting Von Miller, great deal for them. Also on the offensive side, bringing in Jameson Crowder. I'm just going down a list here. Matt Barkley as the backup, Duke Johnson as a running back to bolster up. They brought in.
Because they were about to get McKissick. I don't know if you saw this stuff
I
about like
did,
what
I did.
happened with
No,
that.
I did not
Yeah,
see what
like,
happened. I see he flipped back to Washington.
well, Brandon Bean, their general manager, basically said that they had a agreement in place between McKissick's representatives and the Bills, and at that point, the agent is supposed to basically tell all interested parties like it's over.
Yeah.
Decision's already been made, and which he did. And teams are not supposed to continue reaching out at that point. Washington did continue reaching out and ended up getting him back somehow on a very similar deal. Now Brandon Bean is like, it's just going to be tricky to do business with a team like that moving forward. Now it's something we just have to have in the back of our mind, and that's something that the entire NFL notices as well.
Mhm.
So not a good look for Washington. Duke Johnson's fine. McKissick would have been a really good fit there in Buffalo, I think. So kind of a bummer.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Von Miller, excuse me, really, really good. Um, oh, they brought in Case Keenum as well. Good for them. Let's see here. Oh, Boston Scott, 1 year, 1.75 million with the Eagles. All right. Anthony
Yeah, you want me to go
Harris.
through the Eagles stuff too?
Yeah, go through the Eagles as I go through this list a little bit more.
Sure. Um,
Beforehand, another wide receiver, DJ Moore, as we mentioned, getting the money from the Panthers. But you go on with your Eagles and what
yes.
you've been doing so far.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of the Eagles and you really like the 2021 Eagles, you're gonna love the 2022 Eagles. Let me tell you, because it is pretty much the same freaking team right now. Team, I mean, this team has not done much to change. I mean, we brought in Hassan Reddick. I love that. I think this pass rush really needed some juice. He went to Temple, so back in the area, and he grew up in the New Jersey Philly suburb
Mhm.
area. So he's happy to be home in Philly. He's going to number 7, which is the number he wore at Temple. I think that's sick as a pass rusher to have that single digit. That'll be pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, brought back Anthony Harris, brought back Greg Ward, brought back Boston Scott. Just today, brought back our buddy Derek Barnett. Don't love that one. I need to see the terms of the deal to, see how much we're paying him. But, he's not been great as a first round overall pick for the Eagles back in 2017. So, don't love it, but I'm guessing it's a cheap deal. And my thinking also is that with that David Ojabo injury, the end out of Michigan, who I'm confident the Eagles were targeting, tore his Achilles at his pro day. Now he's probably going to miss a lot of the season and, have to rehab. And, I would imagine that was one of their targets. So, now maybe they're not so sure that one of their defensive end targets were going to be there at 15. Feel like it's a safer move to bring back Derek Barnett on a somewhat cheaper deal. So I'm all about it. You can never have too many D linemen. Also sticking to the D line, Fletcher Cox, for a little scary moment, got released by the Eagles. But I don't think it was ever really in doubt that he wasn't coming back. They basically restructured his contract and brought him back for I want to say they're saving $4 million at the restructure, and it's a 1-year deal. But it's designated as like a post June 16th cut. So he was there. There was a lot of weird stuff with Fletcher Cox's contract. It was a really confusing contract. So a lot of finagling by Howie Roseman to kind of make the numbers work. But also maybe if you don't extend him last offseason, you're not in this position now. Because I love Fletcher Cox. We're definitely a better team with him on the roster, but he's just not the difference maker that he once was compared to the money that he's getting paid right now. So, it was important to bring him back on a cheaper deal, but it would have been shocking if they just kind of released him out of nowhere. And that's why I never really was worried about him not coming back, because the team didn't make like a, goodbye Fletcher Cox post. I mean, he's an Eagles legend for life. I mean, he's an Eagles Hall of Famer for sure. I mean, arguably the best player on the Eagles Super Bowl team. So, you're not gonna release a player like that out of the blue and not, have some social media post like showing his highlights and saying goodbye and thanking him for his time. So glad he's back. But this will most likely be his final season in Philadelphia. I mentioned the Zack Pascal signing. I think that was just a savvy move. You got to kind of raise your floor at wide receiver when Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins are your only like competent wide receivers. You need someone who can fill that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside role or that Jalen Reagor role and show effort and just competency at the wide receiver position. So not dynamic, not going to be a game changer, I don't think, but understands the system, great relationship with Nick Sirianni, and he's a hard worker and, will put in the time and the effort to help the team be successful. So I'm fine with it. But, overall, the market just does not seem to have gone Philadelphia's way. It's clearly not a destination team where free agents are lining up to come to Philadelphia or wide receivers are trying to be traded here, which I understand. I mean, it's a very run-heavy offense. If you're a wide receiver, why would you want to come to Philadelphia and not get the targets, especially on like a 1-year deal or something when you're trying to maximize your value? So I understand, but, just kind of frustrating that, we missed out on the safety market altogether, it seems. Still a couple guys out there. We did bring back Anthony Harris, but I don't love it. Not a difference maker. Still have a giant hole at cornerback 2 opposite Darius Slay. Still have a need at linebacker. There's still some questions for sure, Tim. It has not been a exciting or splashy Eagles offseason by any means. But on the bright side, Jordan Mailata was just on The Masked Singer last night, Tim. I don't know if you saw this, and he absolutely crushed
of course.
it. So, yeah, no, he's fantastic. And just the reason I say that is because he's part of that draft class, I think, in 2018, where we extended a bunch of them recently. And Jordan Mailata, Avonte Maddox, Dallas Goddard, a lot of guys from Josh Sweat, guys from that draft class that we extended this past offseason. So the Eagles were trying to be like, well, the reason that, we're not signing these free agents because we drafted so well and needed to
Mhm.
re-sign our own guys. It's like, okay, sure. Well, maybe if you also didn't have these stupid contracts to Alshon Jeffrey, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Carson Wentz, you're still paying these guys contracts. You could actually sign some of these other guys. So a little frustrating there, but overall, I'm fine with the moves they've made. Just nothing outside of the Hassan Reddick that really gets me excited, or not a lot of juice for the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason so far.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? We still got a lot of offseason. We still got the NFL draft. So we still have, there are so many more signings and small little trades here and there that we didn't discuss today. But like I said, we got a couple of months before the start of the season. And guys, stay tuned for our mock draft challenge. We will definitely bring that back as well. But I think this is a good place to wrap up, Joe. That is Joey D over there. And I'm Timmy B. Friendly reminder, guys, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, thumbs up button, like button, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you guys for watching the Flea Flicker. We'll definitely be back next week or the week after to discuss some more football talk about the mock draft challenge, and get a little bit closer to draft. Who knows? Maybe 18 other quarterbacks get traded between now and then, and we just have a whole jumble. Or maybe, Roger Goodell's like, that fantasy mode in Madden, we're just going to do that this year. So can't
I'd
rule
be
it out.
about it.
But thank you guys so much. As I said, that's Joey D, and I'm Timmy B. Peace out, everybody. Woo!